I will be once we're done.
Mine's already rolling, mate. So
Evening all.
Well, I've got some setting up to do.
We're all lamenting the fact it's clear with full moon.
Oh no, it won't be up for about an hour. Give it you'll have a good an hour or two before it gets a bit too much. So it's worth doing.
I've got an off-axis guider to set up with the RC, so it's going to take a while. So
always a fun job in the dark.
Yeah.
All right, evening everybody.
Evening all.
It's obviously a little bit different tonight, so we're going to play it pretty loose. Feel free to shout over us, chat away, interrupt. We're not going to kind of keep everyone muted as we normally would, unless you're very misbehaving with some background TV, and then we might have to.
So I'll kick off then, if you like. I've just caught up on where I'd got to where I'd got to before. It's okay. I've got screens all over the place. Hi guys, hope we're doing all right. So it's a bit of a Q&A and a bit of a show and tell, and a bit of a mixed bag really. So I thought I'd kick things off with a bit of a show. So let me share my screen if I can get the right flipping buttons in order. Share screen.
We've only done this 37 times before, Daz.
Yeah, you think we'd be used to it. So can you? Hopefully you can see that.
We can, yeah.
Okay, so it's my PixInsight desktop, and what I was doing, following on from the talk we had from
Gareth Coleman, Dave Will.
No, the German. No, the German guy through about Hoy's.
Oh right.
About the Hoy's science project that they're running. Anyway, so this is one of the objects that they were interested in. So I went and shot a bit of data, and I kind of hope that you can. I'm not worried about the quality of the data at all. This has not been processed too much. But what I wanted to show you, and hopefully it does show up. Can you see something on that sort of just towards the bottom left-hand side?
Just like a watermark, is it?
Well, that's I'd scratched my head, and I must have reprocessed this data 552 different times. I thought initially it was something to do with either the flats not correcting properly, or there was a mark that I couldn't get out, or some such thing. And I went back through the whole process several times. I'd also been playing with the weighted batch pre-processing script 2.0. I thought perhaps something had gone slightly screwy there. I'm just going to try and boost the image. Maybe see if we can just boost that a little bit, just to make that a bit. There we go. Can you see that? It looks a little bit clearer now. You're right. It looks like it's what's the word I'm looking for? A bas relief, doesn't it? It looks like it's some sort of 3D thing. And after a lot of digging around and head scratching and banging my head against a brick wall, I came across a thread on the forum. And I need to go and find it, actually, because there was another bit of information in there that I wanted to find. But the poster suggested that there was something mechanical going wrong that was causing that. And basically what's happened is something has moved in between shooting the data and shooting the flats. And the two are obviously misaligned. And then when you run ABE essentially is boosting that, and you end up with this 3D looking donut. And so like I say, after a lot of head scratching and figure it out, I finally found out it's the rear element on my flattener, on my Esprit 100, has come loose, and I could actually turn it around.
Wow.
So from obviously moving from where I was shooting the lights to parking the mount in its position for taking the flats, the tube is upwards, is upright, so I can put the flat field panel on top. That rear lens has shifted ever so slightly, but enough to enough to give me that problem. I'm glad to say that the flattener is out for repair at this precise moment in time, because I couldn't be coping with that. But so, like I say, it showed to me the power of the usefulness of the forum in keeping some of these old posts lying around, because somebody had picked up on that before, and I need to find the original poster, because that came in useful. But he was in used to work in medical imaging, and his conclusion was that, with all else being equal, there is something mechanical or something has gone wrong within that imaging train. And lo and behold, that's exactly what it was. If it hadn't been for that, I don't think I ever have found the fact that that lens had come loose. So there we go. I just thought that was an interesting one to kick off.
As what's the image? What's the object?
The object is, I'm going to tell you, Mark, that it is IC348.
Right.
Yes, there we go. And apparently so the Hoyes project are interested. I don't know if you remember, Mark, the star color and the star formation. So, but I think I'm going to have to reshoot that. I don't fancy sending that data in with that little donut on there for them. But there we go. So there's my kickoff. Like I say, I will go and find that thread and make a reference to it. The other important information which was also in that thread was a little formula to, if you ever get stuck trying to find out where your dust donuts are, the poster put in a little formula. You can measure the diameter in pixels, and then you can work out pretty much where that dust donut is appearing in the imaging train, which again would be a useful thing.
Where did you capture that image?
So that's from home, in my back garden, but and I'm just trying to think at the time. I think it's probably over the houses. Yeah. There was it was only a couple of weeks ago. So, but it was getting close to houses being in the way.
Cool. Thanks, Stas.
Yeah, I can see it.
Did you want to do your other thing you were going to show?
Oh, sorry. Yes, the other thing. Can I now do a share? Yes, I can.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people have. See, I might come late to this. I don't know, but I came across this actually in the newsletter from Letchworth Astro Society. One of the members had written an article in there and made reference to this bit of software called Green Swamp, which is an alternative for those of us that use EQ Mod. It is an alternative to that, slightly more updated than EQ Mod, which was written in early versions of VB6 and has just been tweaked over times. But what's one of the really powerful things, I think, is this 3D interface. You can swing that around and have all sorts of fun, but it moves in real time. So as you're moving your mount around, that image, sorry, it's running a little bit slowly. That image will, as you might expect, move with you. So if you haven't got a camera in your observatory and you want to see what's going on, why isn't that doing anything?
You're parked.
Because I'm parked. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
You did that on purpose, didn't you? Just to test us.
Just to test you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you can. There we go. So you can see that. You can see that moving around. So I've been testing that on my laptop, and that seems to work pretty well. Everything talks to it. Sequence Generator talks to it. PhD talks to it. It runs on. It talks with standard ASCOM, so nothing too different there. And it goes by the rather sexy name of Green Swamp software. I'll put a link in the chat in a bit, so if you want to go and have a look at that, it's free to download. And there's also a groups.io support chat for it as well. And the guy who writes it seems to be pretty responsive. So I think you can do all sorts of weird and wonderful. There's lots of settings for you to have a go at. I won't go through all of this, mainly because I don't know and I'm still trying to figure it out. yes, there's lots of different things. You can define a whole bunch of park positions. So if you're used to doing that in EQ mod, you can do that within here as well. And it will also EQ mod does it after a fashion, I think, but I've not had a chance to really test this, but it will plot the corrections and the movements of the mount as you go, so you can see what's going on in a similar sort of way that PhD does, I suppose, for those. And it's got a handy little pole clock in there as well. If you haven't got one, you can see exactly where the pole star should be and do your alignments for that. So there you go. So that was the other bit. Like I say, I may have come across late to that, I don't know, but I saw it in the Letchworth newsletter and immediately went and did some investigations. There's also it also talks to you. It's got some built-in voices, Zyra, David, and Hazel, so you can get nagged at in all sorts of ways, or of course you can turn it off if you want to. So there you go. There you go. A little more realistic than the EQ mod sounds, I have to say. But there you go. Right, I'll stop sharing that, and I'll go and find the link, and I'll put that in the chat.
Cool. Thanks, Daz. I've got some bits to share with the processing competition winners and things like that, but I don't know if anybody else has got anything they want to share in between. Martin, I don't know if you want to share.
I can pipe up if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, share my screen. I've only got 25 minutes because I've got a meridian flip coming up, and last night I ended up with an horrendous cable snag, so I want to go and witness this one, but I'll quickly.
You look like you're in the warm room there.
I'm in my shed, yes.
Nice,
yeah.
Nice.
Right, where are we? Yeah, so full moon and 4 clear nights on the trot now, which means I've had to attempt narrowband imaging, which isn't my forte. So I've just got a couple of questions about that. First one is, this is my attempt at some dual band imaging with the NBZ filter, the IDAS filter, and I've got 2 scopes, one shooting HA as what I've put as the luminance channel, and then the MBZ scope was going to add the color. They're not quite the same field of view, so I've had to combine them in APP. But the way I did it was I stacked all of the one-shot color subs, and then I took them into PixInsight and did a channel extraction, and in theory got a red, green and blue channel, which surprised me a little bit because I didn't think I would get that, but that's what I've got. And then I've attempted to put them back into a composite image with luminance as the HA off the one scope, and then I'll put these 3 RGB channels in their respective channels. But when I did that, the blue channel was extremely peculiar. It was completely different to the others, and it swamped the image for some reason. So I've had to leave that one out. So this is an image of luminance as HA, red and green, and it's sort of worked. But I just wondered, when you've got a dual band filter, what do you do in terms of channel extraction and combination?
Have you got something to show us, Steve?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Can you not see the screen?
No.
Oh, right. How do I do that then? Because I thought I'd just share screen.
If you go share screen, you should be able to. Nobody else is sharing at the moment, so you should be able to share, and you should have permission to share.
Right. Can you see that?
Yeah,
that's better. Yeah.
Okay, right. So that's the image, as I say, that I ultimately managed to combine, but I did it in a very sort of ad hoc fashion, and I just wondered if there was a better, in terms of how you treat dual band subs that you get with a one-shot color camera.
Yeah, you can use, if you use APP to do your stacking, you can extract the HA and the O3 separately, because and then you can do it that way, and equally in there you can also extract it as RGB as well. It is quite fiddly, but I have got some instructions on how to do that, so I'll whack them up on the board for you.
So is that after you've done the calibration and the stacking? It's one of the tools, is it, to do that?
In APP, you can.
Yes.
There are you can while you're into you do your star alignment and all the rest of the thing up to integration, and when it's integrating, there's a module or procedure that you can the integrated file that you create will just be extracted three, and then you do a separate one, you run it a second time, and that file will be extracted H head, and from then that point on you can create your luminance file in PixInsight however you like.
Right.
One thing you have to do before you go into PixInsight is to reanalyze the stars of the two files. You open those two integrated files as lights, and then you analyze the stars and normalize the data, the two files, and then you can save that normalized data, which is now calibrated, aligned, two files, if you like.
Yes.
Aligned. You can save them as separate files, and they'll just come up as HA with a prefix norm, and then you can open those in PixInsight. You haven't got to do any alignment or anything because they're
that bit I'm aware of, because what my workflow is, I calibrate and stack in APP, save the registered and normalized files, and then I either take them into PixInsight or more often Star Tools.
So prior to that, using a STC or any duo band, you don't go that far. You create two separate integrated ones, and then reopen those as light frames. So you clear out your lights, open those two new files as lights, and effectively recalibrate them only up to normalization mode. Right. And then you can save a normalized file.
Okay.
The two files will save, and then you're in PixInsight and off you go.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, and I've got one other issue which you might be able to help me with. My Luminance HA camera is a good old G28 300 CCD, which I've used for a long time, no problem in SGP. Tried to get it to work in Nina, had a few issues, but ultimately got it working. But since I've done that, it's for some reason, it's not that one. It's blooming. Well, on the saved images on a really bright star. Now I can remove this in software, but I just wondered why it would suddenly start doing that, because it never used to do it on SGP like last year. But now, I mean, I've changed cables and things like that, but I wouldn't have thought a different USB cable would cause that kind of issue. Would you think?
Are you sharing the pictures? Because we're still seeing the horse head.
Oh, sorry, is it not cool again?
No, I think you're still sharing the horse head. So you might need to
oh,
share
sorry.
Right,
let's
stop sharing and reshare. Yeah.
It's a very nice horse head.
It's a very nice horse head.
Yeah.
Screen sharing. Let me just try one more time. Share screen. That's the one I want. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I only have a bright star, and as I say, in SGP last year, it never used to do it, no problem at all. But this time around, and in Nina, I'm getting this like bloom artifact, which I can remove in software, but
it's not. I don't think it's a bloom though, Steve.
Is it not?
It's saturated.
I mean, I've got an old QSI 532, which is a non-anti-blooming gate chip, and that's not a bloom. That is some sort of column defect, which I don't know is being triggered by the actual brightness of the star. I don't know what it is. I've seen it before actually. So I think it's
okay. I mean, I used to get it in SGP if I was in just preview mode, just downloading subs to view and not save them. I used to get it on lots of stars, not just very bright ones. But then when I went into save mode, the saved images were completely clear of it. So it's something to do with the intensity of particular stars, because it's not just a defect in the same position. A number of bright stars will do it. But as I say, it never used to be on the saved image, but now since I've upped it up to Nina, it's happening, and I just scratching my head as to what it might be.
And it's still happening if you go back to SGP now.
Yes, that was the bizarre thing because I was the problem with Nina was it was recognizing the camera for some reason as a one-shot color, and it's a mono camera. And then of course I'd got the debayering mode set up for me one-shot color, so it tried to debayer the image and not unsurprisingly returned an error. But when you turn that off, it's fine. It'll download the image and save it as a mono file. But with this artifact on the bright star, and then when I went back into SGP just so I'd got something to use, it was doing it in SGP, but it never used to do it like last year. So I'm scratching my head on that one.
Have you changed drivers for using the camera in Nina?
All I did was when I was having this problem with the one-shot color identity, I went onto the Moravian site and downloaded the latest drivers for this camera. That's all I did. It is an ASCOM. It's an ASCOM driver. It's not the Moravian native driver. There doesn't seem to be one for this, at least that Nina will recognise.
Yeah, I got the same thing with my Starlight Express under Nina. It wouldn't recognise the Starlight driver, but would recognise the ASCOM driver, and it throws some odd artifacts up now and again. Just a thought.
Okay. Well, as I say, it's not particularly difficult to. I've tried various settings in APP during the calibration and stacking, and you can still see it. In fact, this image here is the stacked image, but it's on every single 5-minute sub. But as I say, there are ways and means of getting rid of it. So, okay, I'll stop sharing. Thank you for that.
No, sorry, we don't have a good answer. I'm just trying to wrap my brain, because I thought in one of the camera drivers there's some settings actually in the driver to prevent column defects like that. I'm sure in the Starlight Express one, I don't know whether that's for the same chip. I was trying to dig in the background, but I can't do it.
Do you access them through the properties window on ASCOM then? Is that if there's anything available, that's where you'd interrogate it and make the changes? Yeah,
it was under there, but I'm trying to remember where I've seen it and what chip it was on. Somebody else might know.
I mean,
again, that would just make me think there's something in the driver settings maybe that somehow has got tripped up whilst installing Nina and trying to get Nina working.
Okay. I mean, there are various readout modes. SGP has got a preview and a low noise option, and I think Nina's got something similar. But I've played around with those, and none of them seem to make any difference.
If I come across a thing that it's reminded me, I'll drop you a message.
Brilliant.
I'll have a look.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
I found that thread. I'm going to put a link to that in the chat, and it was Odd Socks that came up with that. So well done, that man. Well done, that man. I'm going to put that in the chat.
I don't know if anyone's interested, but I'm doing some pixel peeping on this ASCAR lens. If anyone wants to, I'm just doing the corners, just trying to tweak it up.
Yeah.
And get it working. I'll show you. I'll show you what's going on with it.
So we can hear you, but we can't see you.
I know, yeah. I'll be able to share my screen though.
Okay, cool.
Find the damn thing. There you go. Share screen. Here it is. Okay, so this is what I'm working on. It's the monkey. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Monkey head, jelly, and a bit of fluff.
That's one hell of a field of view, isn't it?
There. So we'll go right into it. This is the level I inspect it, and I've just been out and tweaked it really, because what I did is I never focus on the central star ever. I'll move it up to say top right corner, say around there like that, and then focus. So what I did is focus it there, and you can see it's okay. You can still see a little bit of coma going in that direction. Bottom right, that's okay. Just a little bit, see? Yeah, this is extreme pixel peeping, so it's not quite. And then if we switch over to the left-hand side of the image, it's not quite in focus. So what I've just done is I've gone out and I've actually focused on that. So, but I didn't put it exactly in focus. I left it just off slightly. So hopefully the next sub, all of this should balance out. You just have to take your time with it, really. I mean, the stars look round there, but it looks soft if I suddenly switch over to that side and everything's pinpoint.
Yeah.
So you can see it there. It's just very slightly out. So you need to tweak it, or you can just stop it down. But I'm not really in that business, to be honest.
You paid for it. You're going to use it all.
Nothing, man. Full speed or nothing.
You paid for it, so you're going to use it all.
Yeah. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for the speed, aren't you? So that's what people expect. So yeah. So that was the first sub of the night, actually. So I'll wait for a few hours of it to amass, and then we'll be done. So, but once it's all in there, and I'll just mix all the data into the same pot, you'll never notice that's there. So that'll be it, really. So.
We will now. You've told us.
Yeah. Right. That's it, really, for that. So that's a bit of peeping on that. So how do I not share this screen anymore? Hang on. There you go. Carry on, sir.
Thank you, Rob. That was great. Martin, did you want to have a chat about the new imaging challenge?
Okay, yes. So I hope some of you are involved with the first restarted imaging challenge on satellites. There's quite a few entries on the board now. And I'll be announcing the next one, which will, so the existing one will carry on for another 2 months. So the norm is for them to run for 3 months. And but I'll be announcing there'll be a new challenge every month, so that they roll along like that. And this one is going to be the Cosmos in Motion. So we did something previously in a challenge before, and it's an opportunity to use your imagination, be creative. Obviously, there's things like star trails, which will work very well, but you may want to. There's a whole variety of things like the libration of the moon or asteroid movements. There's that, so that's going to be there for you tomorrow. But I've also been thinking, as I was thinking of new challenges to look at, that for some things, particularly if you're looking at motions, that a 3-month time frame for the challenge is really quite limiting. And the thing I was thinking about was doing a solar Analemma challenge. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with this. If you take an image of the sun from a fixed location at a fixed camera angle on a regular basis, the sun obviously rises as it moves towards the summer and then comes down again during the winter, but it does not a straight up and down. Because of the tilt of the Earth's axis, it moves in a figure of 8. So you can get a really nice figure of 8 pattern if you take a picture of the sun on a regular basis at the same time of day, same camera angle. So planning on running an SGL challenge, not a competition particularly, but it's just to see what people can come up with over the course of the year. If you take a bit of dedication, but I'm thinking of starting this in the very near future and running it to the end of March next year. So this project will run for 14 months, and I would just like to find out if there's any interest in that. If anyone would be quite interested in doing that sort of thing.
I'd have thought lots of people would be interested. I've seen some fantastic results done using that. One of the best ones I saw was taken over the Parthenon in Greece. It was absolutely stunning, a whole year's worth. And it's hard to believe that the sun actually does that aerobatic maneuver, but it does. Amazing.
Yes.
Hang on, I've seen this done with the pinhole camera.
Yeah.
Leave the pinhole camera just for a year, 2 years, longer than that, just come back to it, and there you go. You got a fantastic weird image. That'd be a thing to try.
It would, yeah, absolutely. It's I think it'd be fascinating if people could get engaged in it, involved, and we can see the various things that people can come up with. I mean,
Sorry, Martin.
Even in the UK, where we have so many grey skies, you don't need to be getting the image every day. I mean, that would be a bit of a waste of energy, really, I think. But yeah, so long as you can periodically get a sunshine image around midday, it should work.
I'm still in the middle of mine, and I started 13 months ago, and I've got too many gaps because of the clouds. So I'm trying to fill the gaps in now.
Oh right, well, I mean when I set this up, it'd be nice if you could just put the image in there. I mean, I'm not going to follow strict rules for this. I mean, it's not really a competition. It's more sort of SGL, just putting down the challenge for everyone and sharing and seeing what we can all come up with.
Sounds like fun, Martin.
Yeah.
If nothing else, we can all moan about how many gaps we've got in our attempt.
Actually, yeah, because my house isn't completely south facing, I've had to do mine at 1 o'clock every day because that's when it's going directly past the camera.
Well, I was thinking of going to the Parthenon, actually. I thought.
Perhaps that ought to be a condition of entry. It's got to be taken at the Parthenon.
I feel a destination for an SGL Star Party coming on, but
but if anyone has any suggestions for the challenges, then feel free to. I might put a little board on for suggestions, but. Or you can just PM me if you've got any bright ideas. I'm, be very interested to hear any views on it.
Cool. Thanks, Martin.
Oh, thanks, Martin.
Yeah, good stuff.
I just wondered if you don't mind. You mentioned the pinhole camera there. We did with another plug for Letchworth District Society tonight. We did with the local society. We set up one of the solar cans the other year, and it came out really well. Actually, it was. Let me just share, and you can quickly see. You can see where it partially went wrong on a few occasions, but you can see the path of the sun.
Talking about, yeah.
And obviously, at some point, it must have moved because the tree shadows are a bit off, and I'm not sure how the droplets got in. But we've got another one to do as soon as COVID allows us to get back up there. We're going to set another one up this year. But that was a nice, fun little society project we did.
That looks like my flats.
I've seen some stunning ones. Some people, someone's done an array of them where they open each one at intervals, and they've got sort of like 20 or 30 in a bracket, and then they can create animations to show how it changes and the solar position changes. It's some fun stuff.
Is it actually? I presume it's an actual film in the can. Then is it, Grant?
It's just a very, very slow film, I believe.
Yeah.
You can actually use paper. You can use, rather than actually use a negative film, you can actually just use photographic paper in there. That's what a lot of people do. And and you don't even have to process it. You can actually see the result without having to put any chemicals on it.
Do you want to see the original, just so you, because that's the inverted processed one. What you actually, when you take it out of the can, that's what you get.
Oh, okay.
And then you take a picture and invert it and have a play around. But you know, it doesn't look too impressive when you get it like that. But as soon as you invert it, it really pops out. I think it's quite interesting looking, because you can see some big gaps where we obviously had some very cloudy periods, and this particular day was very blotchy by the looks of it. So it's interesting. Cool.
Jolly good.
Anything else anybody wants to share?
Would anyone like to see my hydrogen alpha image of the Horsehead Nebula that I'm working on at the moment?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
If I can remember how to share, I'll give it a try.
Oh, in fact, Grant, Flow do a solar can.
Do they?
They do.
I wasn't going to plug that, but
Oh, well, there you go. Well, well, I will then.
What do I have to do to share it? I can't remember what you have to do.
So it's under the main Zoom window, share screen at the bottom, in the bottom toolbox.
Big green button, Steve.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Put your pudding now. Bring it in now.
Has that come up?
There you go.
There we go.
Nice.
Is that from the Spirit?
A big one.
That's from the Spirit.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And what's really nice, of course, is that it's not getting that darn bright star. So you can just concentrate on the main event, which is brilliant, because the focal length is it's not huge. It's 1070 millimeters, but it means that for this particular object, it works out really nicely, because you're getting all the best bits without that star killing it.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, every image I had a line starting over here on the left, and moving across, and just grazing the top of the horsehead, which was always a bit of a pain.
I know it's hydrogen alpha, Steve, but what nanometers is it?
3 nanometers.
Yeah.
And these are 1800 second exposures, about 20 of them, I think this was.
Good Lord.
That's going to be nice when that's...
yeah, that'll be clean.
Yeah, that will be clean, won't it?
Yes, hopefully so. Yeah, I really want to get about 40 exposures, but I'm going to have a go at doing some HA, but the HA doesn't really add that much. I think this image, or this object, is really good in a one-shot color camera, if you take some nice long exposures, or just stick with mono. I think, or by mono I mean hydrogen alpha. I think that works really well. And it's just the HA that I'm really interested in. And that's my minor contribution. I won't show you the picture of the moon that I took the other night for one of my neighbours, because of course it was a full moon, therefore there's not much detail on it. But that was a bit of a departure for me. Right, I'll stop the share. There we go.
Thanks, Steve. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Well, if we've got a minute, I'll share the imaging competition result, and I've got some other bits just to share as well. Bear with me. So the competition we've just run is Ghost Cassiopeia, and the data is available online for anyone to have a play with. There's about 80 hours total data there, and here is our winner. So this was processed by Ziga. Apologies, I really don't know how you pronounce that. I will post this up on the forum after this talk, but that's our winner this week, or this competition. The winners are selected by me and my colleagues here at Flow. It is purely a pretty picture competition, as we've unashamedly said in the past. It's just what takes our fancy at the time. I think with this one, this star has obviously been a real pain in the backside. It certainly was when I had to go at processing this data. and it was a bit of a pain in the backside in the raw data as well. So going back to those annoying stars, Steve.
The Gamma is a very interesting star.
Yeah, is it a double or a?
It's a B star, but it has a very close companion, and they think they've narrowed it down that it may well be a black hole. It's the only thing that fits with the data. So it's quite an interesting one.
Can we claim that's why it's so hard to process?
It's just very
Does it work like that? I think, you know, I think in all the images, it's obviously been a very, very challenging one to process. But that was our winner, and our runners up are this one, which was taken by Skipper Billy. I particularly liked this kind of more sort of, I don't know, Hubble color scheme, I guess, the golds. I particularly enjoyed this one. So that was one of our runners up, Skipper Billy. And our next runner up was this one, which is processed by Spongy. So I'll post this all up on the forum. Yeah, Spongy does particularly well in these competitions. We'll have to get him on and give us a talk one day, because he definitely, he's always one of the first to post up his results as well. So he must just live for processing. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see some of his methods. So there are winners. Thanks everybody for taking part. I really enjoyed watching the results come in. I have to admit, I'm always a bit nervous until I see the first results coming in, because I'm rubbish at processing. So until I see what other people can come up with the data, I'm always a little bit nervous to make sure I've actually stacked it right and everything else. And that, you know, it's worth me saying that if you ever don't like how I've stacked it, please say. I'm not claiming to be any sort of expert, and I'm sure I could do things better or would make mistakes. So, you know, if you ever would like things done differently or see things that I should have tidied up, please let me know. The next data release by popular demand is our first LRGB data release, which is M33, and there's 100 hours of data in this. 360 luminance. Again, this is me being a newbie a little bit, which is I initially did 120 luminance to match my RGB, and someone made the point that they normally capture as much luminance as they do the RGB. And it's something I'd never really thought about before. Yeah. I don't normally do such long kind of projects. So I went back and added a load more luminance into this. And we've also got a bit of HA for a bit of fun. So that's going to get posted up in the next day or two. I've got a little sneak peek, which again is just a very raw stretch, just to show you what's in the data. And there we go. So there's, excuse my poor effort at processing, but that is just a combine and a stretch. And what I found really interesting,
the starburst stuff nicely, though, isn't it?
It did, and I had to go and look at a Hubble picture, because I thought I'd done something wrong here, because some of these like red circles, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Some of these red circles, I thought, hang on, is that a dust donut or something weird? And it's not. That's all legitimate kind of detail around some of these areas. It just looks too circular or too distinct, so I had to go and double check. You know, you can see one up here, this sort of squiggly one. So I think that should be nice, fun bit of data for you all to hopefully have a play with, and we'll run another competition on that as well. So have fun. The last bit from me was just to share what we're in the progress of completing, which is we're in addition to being asked to do some LRGB, someone asked if we could do some mosaic data so people could have a play with some mosaic data. So another horse head for you, third of the night so far. And so far, this is where I'm up to on it. We've got a decent amount of LRGB and just getting in some HA as well, so people can have a play around. But being 4 panes, it is obviously taking longer, and the weather hasn't been great. But I've got to say, this is very fiddly in APP, because I've never done a mosaic before myself. So trying to actually get the 4 panes to blend nicely. And I've got to say, APP did an absolutely superb job. And I just wanted to share the HA. So apologies, Steve. I know you've shared some HA, but his 4-panel attempt. And I was absolutely blown away when this popped up on the screen, how smoothly it's blended. I really was sort of very, very pleased. So that's just the HA data. The same. We've now got the same for LRGB, and it's all blended quite nicely. So we should be in a position to release this in the next few weeks as well. And what I'll probably do is I'll release it as the 4 individual panes, and I'll release a merged version as well, so people can choose whether to play around with the mosaic in themselves or just process the combined shots. So yeah, that one's coming. I've got a bit of a weird issue on the blue and the green, which is there's a bit of a starburst coming in from this top left-hand corner. I don't know whether it's a weird reflection or something that I just need to have a look at from a bright star or something, but it's not in the HA or the red, which is, yeah, a bit strange. So I'll have a look at that. Yeah, that's going to be a future release. Any requests for targets, please give me a shout, or post up on the forum. Once this horse head is done, then we kind of need some more suggestions, so give us a shout.
You're into galaxies then, aren't you, really?
We are, yeah. And we should have an update actually about our setup in Spain. We're going to be expanding it as soon as we work out how to ship stuff over to Spain without Brexit adding customs charges onto it. We're going to be expanding the setup, which will hopefully maybe make some of the galaxies, give us some more options for galaxies and planetary as well. So watch this space on that. Right, that's me.
It's nice.
Very good. Thanks, mate.
Nice wide field of view.
Yeah.
And the treatment of Alnitak is good as well, because it's not too predominant in that image, is it?
No, and it's a real pain, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I hate it.
I left quite a big overlap because I was just worried that if the overlap was right over the bright, the bright star, it would really cause issues. So there's quite a chunky overlap, and I don't know what the best practice there is. I think I went with whatever SGP recommended, but perhaps there's optimal that maybe any people could comment on. But it's the first mosaic we've tried playing with, and it seems to come together quite nicely.
From what I've seen, the defaults tend to work pretty well, Grant, but I've only ever done a sort of half an attempt at it, and that at a mosaic, and that worked okay for me. But yeah. Well,
I actually had to contact the chap who writes APB because I just could not get one of the panes to blend, and there was a particular setting that I needed to enable, and it then just magically worked. But it was very odd. There was just one that was really clearly not matched to the others. So I might have to just look at the raw data in case there was a difference night to night somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I found with my veil that I did a few years ago, which is how I started with ABP, that I couldn't get it to line up with any of the other stuff, Registar, etc. I stuck it all in APP, not knowing how to do it. I put all the data in, all 4 panes at the same time, which they said not to do, and about 24 hours later it just threw up an image, and it looks spot on to me. So I thought, right, where do I press the buy button?
I did exactly this. I did exactly the same thing, Steve. I chucked everything into APP and just hoped it would get on with it. And 24 hours later, my machine was still running at like 100%. It was ridiculous. So I had to kill it and do it the right way. But yeah, that was. There's nothing that really explains that until you think, hang on, you probably should have stopped by now.
Yeah. Where is it, by the way? Can't remember. I've got it on here.
Cool. Has anyone got anything else they would like to share, or questions they want to ask while we're all here?
Well, I thought Hayden's getting his wallet out then, just for a minute. I thought he was going to pay somebody for something. I thought.
I just done my mobile top up, guys.
Hey, Grant, Daz, I've got one. It's a bit of a strange one. It looks like a re-entry.
He just got his wallet.
Oh, right.
I can share it if you're.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go for it.
there. So it's a 300-second sulfur 3 nanometer exposure of the Sol. And there was, I posted it to the BAA, to the, I've forgotten his name, in charge of the meteorite section. Haven't had a response and couldn't find any reports in there. The only thing was that 24 hours before, there was a estimated re-entry of a part of an Ariane second stage, but it was supposed to go into the Pacific. So this came straight across the top of Stevenage. So, you know, it's not an aircraft, and you can quite clearly see it's sort of tumbling and almost jets appearing. So the only thing is I can think of it's a re-entry, yet it hasn't broken up at that point. I don't know if anyone else has got anything to sort of add to that.
That's a very odd image, isn't it?
It's very odd.
No. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what the chap at the BAA comes back with, but
yeah.
I certainly don't think it's an aeroplane anyway. It's none of it's right for an aeroplane, so it's probably more unusual.
If I share my screen again, sorry, yeah, the that one.
It's the lumpy trail that's very odd as well, isn't it? It's...
Yeah. It is, yeah.
And that's quite thick as well.
Yeah, it is. That's an aircraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's classic aircraft.
Yeah.
The other thing that's slightly strange about your image is that there seems to be it's probably totally the wrong word to use, but there's a sort of plasma around it, if you know what I mean. There's an outer glow, which you never see with an aircraft trail. The image you're showing now is a typical aircraft. You can see where it's flashed a couple of times. You can also see it's a very, very bright, very sharp line, whereas your one is partially fragmented and it's got this sort of outer glow to it, which is unusual.
Yeah, I mean, I have obviously stretched it to a certain extent, but but you can see that the stars are not blown out at all.
No.
Oops, sorry.
That's very odd. Yeah, that glow is very obvious there, isn't it? And that little, where your cursor just is on the left, that kind of little kickback bit. Yeah, that's very strange.
You know, something out gassing or something. But to be that bright, and obviously it was only there on a single image. 300 seconds. So yeah, it's the only thing I can find is this re-entry, Ariane re-entry, but it wasn't anywhere close, and it was sort of 24 hours before this. So, but they're only estimates, so it's a possibility. Yeah.
Interesting.
Bizarre, yeah.
Well, if you get an update on that, Norman, you have to let us know. That'd be interesting.
Hi, I'm new, by the way. I'm Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Hi.
Hi there.
I have something to share. It's just a guide graph. If you guys wouldn't mind taking a quick look.
We love a guide graph.
Guide graph. Right, hang on. Let me share this. Okay. Can you see that?
We can. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So things. Oh, sorry. It's just got an image. That's the Pleiades, as you can tell.
Is this is that a live image coming in?
That's just an image that just came in now. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So not too bad. There's some dust motes here that my flats will hopefully tidy up. My guide graph is, so I've got, this is an EQ6R Pro with an Esprit 120 riding on top. It's, I have to say, so from time to time, I'm below 1 arc second and I'm kind of content with that. But then if I zoom out, there are periods where my RA just goes berserk. And I need to really download the data on this and look at the kind of guide graph over a long period of time. In fact, it's doing some interesting things at the moment.
Well, I'm looking at Mr. Rob Banks on the call here because he's the man for measuring glide graphs.
Yeah.
You thought it was a Sunday, Rob.
Goes berserk every now and again. It's sort of just, you end up with oscillations on, you know, about plus or minus 3 arc seconds. So I need to understand whether it's like, you know, I mean, I've done everything I can with cables. I'm balancing east heavy. So, you know, I'm just looking for suggestions, really. I think it might be one of these things where really and truly I have to just share the data. But,
Is Tom there?
Have you? What's your exposure? I can see you've got an exposure setting of 1 second.
Yes.
Is that on your guider? Yeah.
Yeah. So
make that 3 seconds at least.
Yeah.
I've tried that, by the way, and that doesn't.
You're chasing the scene there, mate. Really. It's got to be at least 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah, I'll try that again.
Yeah.
I've got the sort of multi-star guiding going on, which is supposed to kind of correct for the seeing a little bit, because you're kind of monitoring multiple stars at the same time. But yeah,
but still, you don't need 1 second. Even the amount will track sufficiently within that 3 seconds.
Okay.
The next exposure.
Yeah.
Have you had this problem when you've been using 3 second?
I have to be honest. Yeah.
So if you also have it when you, I mean, the way to decide whether it's the chasing the seeing or not is just to, it's how if it did the same thing when you were on 3 seconds plus, and it did.
Right. It did.
Yeah.
Right? You can see, yeah, it did, and you can see these sort of big oscillations coming in now. So it goes through a period where it's, you know, it's not too bad.
It's a very strange oscillation for it to be seeing, because you've got it doesn't instantly go back. I mean, that's the problem with seeing. It flicks one way, flicks another. Whereas yours seems to go deviate and then stay at that level, and then have a sudden push back, which to me doesn't look like seeing. It looks like something mechanical in there.
Well, this is my worry, is that I've got a mount that is because EQ6 normally, just from what I've read, will guide reliably below 1 arc second. I'm at 1.3 nearly at the moment with those big oscillations that have come in there. So I don't know if there's something in the gears there that is sort of rubbing, or I don't know. I'm not an expert mechanically, so
belts, isn't it? The EQ6R. So
sorry,
it's belts, isn't it? The EQ6R. So
it's yeah.
Rob, what's when we've seen stuff like this, when the belt rubs, what are the oscillations normally on?
Yeah, it could be a combination of a number of things. Tightness of the is your RA axis stiff at all when you're trying to balance?
No, not really. No, it moves quite freely. You know, freely enough for me to kind of judge it, whether it's, you know, to try and get it east heavy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you know, whether east heavy or perfectly balanced, it doesn't make a difference. I still seem to see this happening.
Yeah. It might pay just on one side of the mount. There's a little panel, and if you take that off, you'll see the gears and belts, which actually look in there and see if there's any rubber dust. That sometimes they rubber. It's not a brilliant little gear on the stepper motor. There's a pressed on aluminium washer, if you like, and that one can fall off actually. So it might just pay to double check that one.
Yeah. Okay.
On the both axes. But what's the aggressiveness on all of that as well?
I was going to ask about aggressiveness.
Yeah,
that can be a problem.
So I dialed this control. This is not PhD2, by the way. This is ECOS guiding, but I've tried PhD2 and I get similar results. But this is basically the equivalent of PhD2's predictive PEC guiding. So it's the same kind of parameters. So to reduce, there we go. To reduce the aggressiveness, min move could probably go up a bit. I've tried control gain closer to 0.5. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's crashed. How about that? Well, there we go. K-Stars has just crashed. So
just watching it. That's us.
There we go. Yeah, probably. Well, there we are. There's nothing else to show you at this point because that's just crashed. I can try and go back.
Just out of curiosity, is the ECOS running locally, or are you remoting onto a remote ECOS, presumably. If you're
It's remote ECOS, yeah. Let me just, I've lost the call now. Oh, stop share, there we go. Yeah, it's running on a Raspberry Pi, and I'm just, remoting in basically. Just got it on the front drive. Yeah, so, okay, well, that's, thank you. I'll maybe kind of look into where the belt is and see if there's anything funny in there. But yeah, I'll get hold of the graph and post it on the forum maybe, and people can have a look.
Yeah.
What does the actual data look like?
Yeah, to be honest, it's variable. So like some of the subs come out with really great, perfectly round stars. I'm seeing a bit of training on some of them. So it's kind of consistent with this pattern of, going through periods of guiding being below 1 arcsecond and pretty good, and then you get these big oscillations kick in, and then you end up losing a few subs because they're trailing the stars. I mean, there's a bit of wind outside, but not majorly. So yeah.
Have you tried PhD2 locally? So have you sat outside with a computer as well, just in case there's some moderation with the
I mean, I doubt it. I might try it. But I'll,
there is a piece of software, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but with the PhD text file that you get, I'm not sure if ECOS does the same. There's an analyzation software you can actually look at, and it will give you the frequency at where there's an error. So you can then look to see if it's in the motor end, the worm end, or the main gear. It's never the gear end because it takes 24 hours to go around, doesn't it? But you can actually analyze a little bit further, similar to as is where the dust pixel is in the imaging train. You can actually analyze it a little bit more to see where it is in the instance, if you see what I mean.
If I remember right, that's Pen Pro, isn't it?
I can't remember what it was called now off the top.
I think it is, yeah, because you can use that either to play back, can't you, or you can look for.
I've got it in a ticket somewhere, I think. I'll have to have a look. I'll have a look tomorrow.
Okay.
But that might be worth a punt, is to try it locally as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you can post up, Charles, then we can see what we can. Yeah. And if you can take those covers off, that would be useful to see if you can find anything in there as well.
Yes. Okay. I will do.
Is that with an off-axis guider?
No. I'm using the Evo Guide ED on top. Yeah. With a ASI 120.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we haven't got a good answer for that.
No. There's never any easy answers for these things, or not. Yeah. But I appreciate all the suggestions. I'll have a look.
Cool.
There used to be, I could have sworn there used to be a PhD tool as well for looking at their guide graphs, but
yes, there is. There's an analysis tool.
I thought there was, yeah.
Oh, I ran that, by the way. Yeah. Nothing kind of
jumped out.
No, I mean, everything looked good actually. Declination backlash was quite low. Periodic error seemed quite good. My polar alignment was within 1 arc minute. No, nothing kind of like screamed out at me that was wrong there. So
I think the tool is PEC Prep, the one that you look for the oscillations. Does that mean
that's the EQASCOM version of PenPro, basically, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's very good actually. I quite highly rate it.
The guide skirt that you're using, what's its focal length?
342.
Right. So, yeah, it's a bit higher than what I'm using.
Yeah, I'm below 4:1 guiding to main skirt ratio, so I think that's okay.
Yeah, so I sort of turned down the aggressiveness. I just kept it default. It's mine's at 99. The minimum motion, because it's a finder guider, is 0.4. Oh no, it's actually it's a 0.04 minimum motion.
Right. Okay, wow.
Maximum deck, it's about 300 normally. I've got it set to 350 tonight, and I've got it only guiding in one direction. Otherwise, you get that sort of oscillating graph sometimes. So sometimes you can figure out which way it wants to guide. So if you see an oscillating graph, it wants to guide in one direction only. So you set it, you
This
figure
is-
out.
This is in right ascension, not declination.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, that's. Oh yeah, is that the one you're having problems with? Yeah.
Right ascension, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You probably need to. Have you tried just lowering the guide settings just so it's asking it to do less? Or is
Yeah, I've tried lots of things, and I've tried to do them systematically. So I'm inclined to start thinking there might be a mechanical issue, especially because I'm going through periods where it's guiding great, and then you get these, and I can't see that there's any kind of periodicity to the,
and your balance is fine, everything's sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried perfectly balanced. I've tried East Heavy, and neither make too much of a difference.
You just got to keep going. That's all I can say. You just got to work at it.
Yeah, I mean, if I had all the money in the world, I'd spend 10 grand on a perfect mount that didn't have to do anything with, and it would work.
Once it's settled, don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Once it's done, just never take it apart. That's my advice, really. It's just.
It sounds to me like you've done a textbook analysis of your guiding. You've done absolutely everything right. You've tried every range of possibilities that you can reasonably try. And it seems that it's something to do with the mount rather than anything you're doing wrong with the guiding.
I think so. I mean, there are periods when it's fine, and I'm getting enough subs that are good with pinpoint stars to stack and getting good images. But I prefer that, I mean, the mount, is reliable from what most people have said, and should be reliably guiding below one arcsec. So yeah, just might be a mechanical issue that I need to look into.
Well, I was thinking about, once this meeting finished, I was going to go out and recheck my polar alignment, because I'm on a mount on a pier, so I haven't polar aligned for months. Well, since a year, I shouldn't think. And I was just, last night I was looking and I think, do you know what, my stars are starting to look a bit eggy, and I just changed it from 1 second to 3 seconds, and voila, I ain't gonna do it now. It's perfect. Something good came out of this tonight. Perfect. I'm really chuffed now.
I was going to ask a question then. What the hell was I going to ask? It was going to be to Rob. Rob, could the belts themselves be, I can't see your picture now, Rob. Could the belts themselves be on the way out? Mr. Banks, you're on mute, sir.
Yeah, sorry, and I tried pressing the space bar. It didn't want to say. They may be slack. I've never had one snap. They fall off sometimes, especially if that little aluminium washer comes off. I've also had shafts on the actual stepper motor snap, and that's largely to be the belt tension's way too high, so it just puts too much stress on them. And with the continual rotation, with that stress on that motor shaft, they do actually snap. Well, I had one occasion of that, but which isn't an ideal situation, but
no.
Obviously. But no, belts are normally the best way to go. I guess there's no backlash in the worm and wheel.
Yeah, so actually I had a bit of backlash in RA that I could feel, and I did actually adjust that. Found some
Right. Okay. How much have you got now? Have you got a tiniest amount, or is it tight?
Yeah.
Because it's also wise to rotate the whole when you've done your backlash. Rotate it I don't know, probably eighth of a turn, then quarter of a turn by the motor, not by just clutch free, all the way around to do 360. So you check it in eight or 10 positions, because the actual gear on the worm may have this. Unfortunately, there's no spring load in the actual worm tension in the, it's either on or off. That's what that adjustment does. You may find it tightens up one side, so you may have to have it a little bit sloppy the t'other.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe
you find the tightest spot on the worm and wheel, and adjust it to that. And unfortunately, that's what you get.
Yeah. I didn't have any binding, which was the main thing for me.
Yeah, but if it's slightly tight, The easiest way actually to check it is with the motor, with the mount switched off, with the panel off the side. If you rotate with you should be able to rotate the large gear with the belt on reasonably easily.
Right. Okay.
If it's too tight, then if you can't, you can ping the belt off if you want. There's no issues. But if you then rotate you should be able to rotate it. And if there's any stiff spot, then that might be causing the issue.
Okay.
So over tightening is always a some radio going in the background there. D star. Yeah. So the tension in that is quite critical to make sure that there's nothing foul in it. You can just get and the position around the whole thing. So it's not just, oh yeah, job done. You need to check it in numerous places around that wheel, but rotate it using the worm, if you see what I mean, rather than release the clutch. It makes no difference where it is on the clutch.
Okay, interesting. Would it be explaining what I'm seeing though, if it's kind of happening every?
Not necessarily, but there's some funny things happen, don't they? So it's sort of sometimes because you're only moving a very small amount. What might be happening is easing it. It's going click, and didn't actually move it very much, and then it jumps a little bit in the worm. Of course, the gear is such that the I think it's got to go around something like I can't remember 200 odd turns or something. I can't remember now off the top of my head.
Okay.
Chart somewhere, but anyway, before it does one revolution, the whole thing, but it takes so many steps of the stepper motor to rotate that one revolution, and it's geared.
Okay.
But it'd be worth a check, just that all the way around, as you tweak the adjustment all the way around. It's time consuming, but it is what it is.
Fine, thank you, Rob. That's
right. Cool.
Keep us posted, Charles, on the forum. Somebody else might come up in the future and have exactly the same question and problem. We will go, we know a man that had that particular issue. Cool. Well, fingers crossed that it's an easy fix. Let's hope. Put it that way.
Of course, it's not an old mount. I got it back in September, so not had it very long.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody else then?
I wondered if anybody had seen the sunspots at the moment or done any solar stuff in the last week.
Just chugging through today's. Sorry.
No, so you carry on, Steve.
I'm just chugging through today's captures, stacking them in the background. So, the nice sunspot is just disappearing off the limb. It's right on the limb. This is in auto stacker. I don't know. How do I share this now? Come on.
Big green button at the bottom that says.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, there you go. He just, if you can see my.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he's just disappearing off the edge, and what? 91% through this one. So I tend to do a lot of captures, stack the lot, and sit here while silly o'clock in the morning, sifting through the best ones and prodding it and poking it with Photoshop mainly. Oh, there you go. So yes, the CAC finished a little bit earlier. Stop share, and if I open that one, bear with me, or if somebody else wants to say something.
The only thing I was going to say was that as a non-imager, which I am, it's been quite good watching this. There've been two sunspots, isn't there? And it's this big one, and there's one just below it. So that's been quite nice looking at it in white light, but also there's been some nice information looking at it in hydrogen alpha as well. Some nice proms, some nice filaments, some plage. So it's been quite good for us non-imagers just looking at the sun. So it's been having clear days and nights. It's been great doing solar observing during the day, and then we can switch and do lunar observing at night for the change.
Mark, is my memory right? Do you use a double stacked PST? Is that?
I do, yes, which is very good. And this is all down to the fact that I attended a star party at Luxor, our favorite venue, and somebody just happened to have a double stack for the PST. So I said, could I try that out? And I suddenly saw the surface detail was hugely improved. I thought, I really must get one of these. And then about a couple of weeks later, somebody very kindly put on the classified, I've got a PST double stack for sale. So that was quite fortuitous. So yes, I've got a double stack PST. So, and whenever it's clear, I usually have a look, and which I did today. And as I said to you earlier on, that I'm going to have a look tonight at some of these items that we've been discussing on the forum for doing some lunar observing. And I've just looked out, and it's nice and clear here in Hereford. As I said, I've just been chatting to, I'm sorry I came offline, but it's hugely warm and sunny in California as well. So I'm sorry if I upset people, but I had to go away and chat to my son who lives just outside San Francisco. And that's what it's like, lovely clear blue skies.
Very nice. And this is the sort of stacked CAC from earlier, unprocessed. It will be stitched together with the other two. I might have to go back and redo it because I can see there's a stacking artifact there. It hasn't done particularly well. But do this one and share. There's yesterday's.
Steve, are you using a standard refractor with these filters on the back?
The CAC is a Lunt filter that sits in the back of the ED80.
Yeah.
The Lunt is a 60mm that I've put.
A standard hydrogen alpha.
Yeah, it is that. Where are you? There you are. I managed to get hold of a. There we go. Coronado Richfield that as soon as it came, I got the measurements and nipped into the workshop and made myself an adapter so I could double stack it on the front of the Lunt. So it's a Coronado Lunt
hybrid.
Thank you. That's the forum friendly expression for it. Yeah, what are we doing here? Actual pixels. There we go. That's a bit of proper size. There were yesterday's, and that's that sunspot.
Yeah, nice.
Well, interesting comparing the HA with the CAK. That's it just shows it is worth having the two if you're into solar.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that a bit of escape going on there, Steve? Just where your mouse was just
that
there?
one, yeah,
yeah.
Could be. That's the other.
There was a ginormous loop in prominence the other day.
Yeah, missed it. And there's a CAC, of course. I've a feeling, with my limited experience with this CAC over the last 12 months or so, that it isn't as susceptible to the seeing as the HA is.
Okay.
And if I go up to the top one.
It certainly gives the impression of being crisper, I have to say, but I suppose it all depends on the wavelength of light it's collecting, I guess.
Yeah. The HA is narrower.
Right.
So that one's with the 2.5 power mate in the mix as well, which gives me that little bit more. You got that prominence there. That's another escapee by the looks of it. There's the second spot. That's another prom there, and that's the first spot.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So fun in the sun yesterday.
with both of those, you must collect terabytes of video data.
Yes.
Do you keep it all once you've stacked it? Do you bin it?
I've got an AS unit at the back there. I've just added another 4 terabyte drive in there, and it's resyncing itself, and it's now up to 86%, and it's been at it 3 or 4 days. But yes, it does get binned, Grant. It does, because I've just got that much stuff. I know Gary has got hard drive after hard drive that he saved over the years. I couldn't be that precious with the data. I'm not that good.
The thing is, would you ever go back to it? I guess that's what you've got to ask yourself, isn't it?
Very rarely have I been back to it. That's the thing. I do with the planetary stuff. I do go back that because I've learned things, and I've picked up 1 or 2 tips recently that I might go back to stuff from last year. The only problem is there hasn't been a great deal of activity sunspot wise and prominence wise and filament wise to use those techniques with. So
what is your workflow then? You end up in Photoshop, but where do you do your wavelets?
I've gone back to using Registacks. Okay. I did use image. What do they call it? Image.
IMPPG.
Yes, post processing, and use the deconvolution in there. But recently, I've come out of there and gone back to Registacks and into Photoshop. And this one in particular, the big one here, I've been messing around with HDR toning.
Steve, there's lots of plays you can see from that sunspot. I don't know if you picked up today, but NASA was saying that as it's got to the edge, they think there's going to be a large CME coming off that sunspot tomorrow. So
you never know.
Well, it might be worth having a look if it's really going to be blasting off the side of the sun.
Yeah.
I know it's not coming towards the Earth, but it could be an interesting thing to look at.
I got a rather good one back end of last year, a promise coming off, but it's somewhere on the forum and in my data. I'm not going hunting for it at the minute. It'll take me ages to find it.
If you scroll up a bit, what's on that disk image? Just to the
this one, yes.
Yeah, no. If you scroll up to the top of that disk, what's that there? Can you see on that? What is it, like the 11th? Yeah.
There, yeah. That's filament.
Yeah.
It's Philiprom. I have got a crop of that with the PowerMate. Look, at 4 o'clock this morning, I'd had enough. I wouldn't have minded so much if it was still being clear outside, but I gave in about 2 a.m. Due to the moon and I've mentioned it earlier, this high, thin cloud that we've been persistently having for about the last 8 months.
Well, that high, thin cloud wasn't so high for me this morning. It was
foggy,
quite pea soupish.
Yeah, it did come in later on. Yeah. Everything was ringing wet through. But it is what it is. It's where we live, and I'm afraid I think we're going to have to put up with it until we do something about climate. But get off. No. We'll start that.
Well, there's some cracking images there, Steve. Certainly.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. All right. Let me stop sharing. There you go. Oh, there's Daz.
Jolly good. Any more for any more? Go on, have we covered everything that you wanted to go over?
The only thing I've got is to mention our speaker for next week, and we've got a proper speaker next week. So we've got Mary McIntyre, who's going to be giving us a talk on sketching and art work with astronomy, which should be sort of a bit of a practical as well. And it's I've seen lots of her sketches, and she does some amazing work. So I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of how she does it, and hopefully there'll be some tips and tricks there. So something a little bit different, but should be very interesting. And she's a very good speaker, so that should be great.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
And if anyone's got any suggestions for other speakers, please send me some more suggestions. It's quite tricky trying to schedule one a week. So I suspect ongoing we might move to maybe having a couple a month, and then maybe throwing one of these sort of Q&A nights in as one of the talks. We can maybe do some live viewing between us as well, possibly as well. So and again, if anybody wants to give a talk, or even if they haven't got something they can give a whole talk on, if someone wants to talk for 20 minutes on something, we're very open. So just give us a shout.
Cool. Thanks, mate. Jolly good.
Otherwise, we're going to volunteer Rob to do one on taking mounts apart.
Right, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm on the phone now.
Right, Steve. Yeah, you take
Cheers,
care.
thanks,
Ta-ra, mate.
bye.
Ta-ra, mate. Well, I think unless anybody else has got anything, I think we're going to call it a night there anyway. It's just coming up for 9 o'clock. So I think cups of tea or something perhaps a slightly more medicinal might be in order. Great to see everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you all next week, if not before.
Just quickly, the software was PEM Pro. For looking at the data of
PEM Pro. Yeah, I thought that's what it was called. Yeah. My old memory was not playing too many tricks on.
Right.
Rob, if PEM Pro, I'll have a look for that. We'll find the link for that, and we'll post it up in the forum somewhere for people to go and find. Cool, excellent. Thanks, Rob. Right, boys and girls, take care. We'll see you all next week then.
Good week. Take care. Thanks all.
Cheers, guys.
Bye bye.